let's get rid of Egypt on Monday and step on Egypt on Monday and kill Egypt in our house on Tuesday and get rid of crumbs. Egypt is so far from us. Come on, somebody! Egypt is so far from us. We walk on these holy grounds.
Would it be a reach to say that there were some racists in the Adventist church, maybe even in the leadership of the church? Because our history shows that there was a separation. There were issues with worshiping together. Is that a reach, or is that?
I think sure. There have always been a mixed multitude with God's people. I mean, I would say without a doubt. I think that we have everything in our church. But if you're asking, did the racist policies, or I would say the policies that reflected Jim Crow, were those because of racism? I can tell you what the original reason for them was. And that was initially when there were desegregated or unsegregated gatherings of blacks and whites, and an Adventist minister was in the South preaching to them and ministering to them. There was considerable friction, and there was often violence. As the Seventh-day Adventist Church, they were Northerners, they thought like Northerners, they were pro-union, and they were anti-slavery. So already, with that, forget about ideology, there was already a cultural difference. She would do what needed to be done temporarily to get it out. Now, once you know that, you can say whatever you want about her. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, once you know her motive, now then you can judge what you think about it. But she wanted to get the message out. And Ellen White knew it was evil, but she said temporarily until the Lord shows us a better way. We need to observe these laws just so that violence will not be perpetrated against us, and we will be cast out, and we can't spread the gospel to anyone.
You know,
this may sound strange, but I think for many who were down south, many Adventist evangelists, they had a good motive, and that turned out to be Ellen White's motive when she wrote statements that are still quoted today that seem to countenance and justify segregation.
Thing I'd like to interject. There were laws on certain books that would suggest that for even a white person to assemble a group of black people, that they could be beaten with 39 lashes of a whip and fined an entire year's salary. That is what Edson White took on when he attempted to preach to the blacks. But because the laws of the sea were different than the laws of the land, he came up with a plan covertly to take them on board the Morning Star, to teach them and to disciple them, and then would drop them back off on the shore.
When the work is finished, the slaves are allowed to congregate and perform religious rites which are merely a primitive African version of Christianity. Experience shows that the more religious a slave is, the more humble, resigned, and docile he is. However, the law prescribes that these devotions shall be monitored by a white man. And there he is.
If the slaves, and some of them did, rise up, and with John Brown and others, but if they had as a people done that, then the same thing that happened to the Native American would have happened to the slave. And they would have created genocide. And so it took strength for them to bow their heads, shuffle their feet, and say, "Yes, Massa. Yes, Massa." Because it was a matter of timing. And I think that even there, that God was leading. When they saw their women whipped and raped and beaten, as we saw in 12 Years a Slave, and they didn't have something to say, that it was timing. And I think it was the strength of courage just to hold your tongue until God shows us a way.
Hello, Father. They keep you busy on a Sunday.
Hey, John. What's the matter with you these days? Well, it's been more than 2 weeks since I seen you in church.
I've had a lot to do.
Seventh-day Adventists are people who believe in the entire Bible.
We can see right before our eyes that the prophetic chapter of Revelation 13, and if it's been some time since you looked at that chapter, take a look at it. It's being fulfilled as Rome takes ever greater opportunities to influence the world.
Now, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and I know you're a Seventh-day Adventist out there, and we've read Revelation chapter 13. You cannot miss the significance of the head of the beast power, the first beast power in Revelation chapter 13, coming to address the second beast power in Revelation chapter 13. These things are huge. And it's happening in our world right
on
now.
Wednesday of Carson giving a commencement speech in 1998. And in that speech, he presented his theory of why ancient Egyptians built the pyramids.
My own personal theory is that Joseph built the pyramids in order to store grain. Now, all the archaeologists think that they were made for the pharaoh's graves, but, you know, it would have to be something awfully big when you stop and think about it. And I don't think it would just disappear over the course of time to store that much grain. And when you look at the way the pyramids are made, with many chambers that are hermetically sealed, they would have to be that way for a reason. And, you know, various scientists have said, well, you know, there were alien beings that came down and they had special knowledge, and that's how they were. You know, it doesn't require an alien being when God is with you.
It's still my belief, yes.
Can you explain that a little bit more? What was the...
Yeah, well, the pyramids were made in a way that they had hermetically sealed compartments. You wouldn't need hermetically sealed compartments for a sepulcher. Mm-hmm. You would need that if you were trying to preserve grain over a long period of time.
Hermetically sealed compartments, I get it, like, you know, the seed vaults.
God is white, and as long as God is white, we shall prevail over all other races.
Thank you very much.
See, the problem with you worshiping is Egypt. It's hard to suddenly become worshipful, submissive, humble, and contrite on Saturday morning when you've been the devil all week. We are being Egypt right up to Sunset Friday. I think some mark may be going beyond Sunset Friday. And then the sun rises on Sabbath morning, and we want to put on holy looks and holy clothes and holy expressions and holy words and holy walk and holy. But the fact is, when you've been in Egypt all week, Egypt creeps through on Sabbath. So I'm breaking it down so you can get it. The person is saved in church and brought away from their liquor, but as soon as pressure comes, they go back to the bottle. Egypt. Egypt affects you a lot of ways. It's Egypt, what you wear, what you eat, how your music, it's all Egypt. And here they are again, Richard, under pressure, and it's we want. And you know, you've been on your knees sometime praying, and Egypt rises up. Can I get a witness? For they said to me, make us gods that we shall go before us. As for this Moses, this man who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. Now they want to reach back to the gods of Egypt. Are you listening to me? Let's say it again before I move to another book of the Bible. Let me say it again. Let me say it again. Your problem today, listen to me right now, keeping your mind on this sermon, receiving what God has prepared for you, you're battling right now with the Egypt in you. It is your constant problem every time you walk in this church. That's your language, that's your attitude, not be Egyptian. Let me stick in my new word, not be worldly. Tell Egypt to get out of my way. I'm in God's house. Not bringing that stuff in here. This is my oasis, my place of peace, my refuge. CPC, I made it through the highway, got around the beltway. I'm here now. Leave Egypt out there in the street.
The ancient Egyptians themselves said that they came from the south of Kemet, ancient Egypt, which is further up, higher up the Nile Valley, closer to the source. And they identified the mountains of the moon, which are in modern-day Uganda, as their place of origin.
Most historians now accept, even the European Eurocentric ones, that it is the movement of the peoples from the south to the north that gave birth to Kemet. However, what they fail to recognize that is not just the movement of these one set of Africans traveling from the south to the north, but also movements of other Africans coming from the west to the east. They met and collected together in what is now Kemet. That's why that civilization was so powerful, because it was a multicultural expression of the African experience. It was several sets of different Africans coming together in one place and creating a civilization.
Heal, vote, inspire, vote, revive, vote, heal, vote, inspire, vote, revive, vote, inspire.
From the indications that I got, they did not rush the shooter. The shooter can only shoot one person at a time. He cannot shoot a whole group of people.